Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to another GT Sport opinion piece. Now, it's been a wee while since I've done one of these videos, but with penalties being very much at the forefront of the GT Sport discussion, I thought now was as good a time as any to do another opinion piece and give you my current thoughts on the penalty system, why I'm starting to get a little bit fed up with it, what I think still works about the penalty system, why I think that PD are probably in a little bit of a rock and a hard place when it comes to changing it completely, maybe implementing elements from other games, and towards the end of the video I shall give you my ideas on what I think PD could change with the current system to maybe make things a little bit better. So if you've ever heard me give my opinion or talk about the penalty system maybe in a live stream, you'll know that I'm a little bit more pragmatic and accepting of the penalty system's flaws and quirks, let's just put it that way. But I have to admit that in recent weeks I find myself getting a little bit more frustrated with things than usual, and that is because it is so easy, no matter how cautious and careful you are, to have a very minor inconsequential contact with another player and pick up a 2-3 second penalty. You then serve that penalty through the gates, you end up further back in the grid and amongst even more madness, and it becomes a bit of a snowball effect. You can very easily then pick up another couple of penalties, and if things go really bad for you, end up with a driver rating reset, which you can see a lot of work for drivers and players out there who've spent weeks and months grinding that driver rating up to the level they want to get it to, or to the highest level they've ever been to then have a bit of a bad race, pick up a few penalties that are not really their fault or problem, and before you know it, all that hard work is down the drain. Now, I don't think it's all doom and gloom with the penalty system, to be honest with you. It's very easy to sort of look at the bad penalties that people get and just go into full criticism mode. I think in terms of actual deliberate punts, from my experience and from what I've seen and from what I've looked at in sort of replays and stuff, the game generally does a pretty good job of penalising players who deliberately punt another player off the track. So there is a positive element in that, and the other penalty that's very common is the kind of 1 second penalty you get for just having the minorest of taps on the rear of another car. Now, it is true to say you shouldn't really be tapping the rear of another car in a braking zone, but you can have the most minor of contacts and not even be aware you've touched the car in front of you, and a 1 second penalty can pop up. So I'm a bit sort of on the fence with that penalty, if I'm completely honest with you, whether it's doing a good job or doing a bad job. I think it's maybe just a little bit too sensitive. Maybe a slight adjustment to the algorithm to make it a little bit more of a tap required in the rear of another car to activate a penalty would certainly make that one a little bit less frustrating. So what are PD to do with the penalty system? Now, the most common response you'll get from people, I think, is that they'll sort of say, why can't they implement the system from a game like iRacing with its 17 instant points, or damage like ACC. Obviously iRacing's also got damage as well, and I don't think that's the solution for GT Sport. The problem is with that is that GT Sport has a much wider range and diversity of player skills. I think, you know, whether you like it or not, GT Sport is definitely a far more casual racing game than iRacing or ACC, and therefore implementing a damage model system where one contact with another player spins you out, puts you into a wall and ends your race would alienate so many people who play the game that it just wouldn't be good business practice for Polyphony Digital. At the end of the day, they are a business, their job is to make money. If they make changes to the game that loses them 75% of their player base, then that is just not good business at the end of the day. So I don't think it's as easy as just implementing a really harsh damage model to the system, and that really comes down, I guess, as much as anything else to the players. But the reason we can't really have a system like that, let's be honest, some of the driving standards and things you see going on in races would make a system like iRacing's where, you know, you get 17 instant points. I don't think anybody would finish the race. I think people would be, half the field would be disqualified within 5 laps. So yeah, these systems, I quite like the iRacing system, I quite like the thought of damage as well, but I can understand why it just wouldn't work in GT Sport. The sort of the racing etiquette is just not there amongst the wide range of players. It would work in the very, very top split, so the very, very skilled players, or the sort of, I guess, the players who have some motorsport knowledge. I think it would works quite well with them, and let's be honest, most people who play iRacing or ACC probably have an interest in motorsport and a good knowledge on racing etiquette. I think that a sort of casual player base like GT Sport, it's more difficult to have those things. I don't think that knowledge is quite as wide ranging amongst the player base. So that's one of the reasons why I think they can't quite implement a system like those two games. So what could qualifiers change within the current penalty system to maybe make things a little bit better? So over the next part of the video, this is just going to be some of my ideas. I'm just going to throw out there as to what I think they could change within the current system to maybe make the player base a little bit more tolerable to the penalty system. And first up we have sportsmanship levels. Now right now I think we have 6 different sportsmanship levels, and there is a little bit of confusion because you can be at one sportsmanship level like this, for example SRS, and you can be treated differently to another player at SRS depending on where you sit within the range, ending up in for example a drop split. And I think this creates confusion, people don't quite understand it, so I think I would simplify this element of the game, and if you're at SRS you're treated the same as being at 80 as you are at 99 in terms of matchmaking and stuff like that. Next up we've got penalties. Now how would we deal with penalties being dealt out? Now I did watch Tidge's video fairly recently and I have to agree with him that I think if you can't get collision time penalties correct at least 85% of the time, then we should probably disable them. I don't think people get too annoyed about losing a little bit of SR. I think they do get annoyed about getting a time penalty, then ending up in amongst all the madness and then the further snowball effect that comes with that, and then getting further penalties, etc, etc, etc. I would still see orange SR downs dished out the same as per the current penalty system. This would mean them have to make a fundamental change to it. An orange SR down would equal -10. You could earn up to 20 positive SR points over the course of a daily race C, and if you got 3 SR downs over the course of a race you pick up a 5-second penalty. Now this is just very much a basis and require a little bit of further refinement in this element, but we don't have time in the video for that. So how would I promote clean driving? Now this is where we're going to have to get a little bit draconian and maybe a little bit controversial as well. So to encourage players to get to the highest level of sportsmanship, this is what I would implement into the game. There would be no driver rater earnings below SRA. There would be no credit earnings below SRA, and in both of those examples you would actually earn a reduced level at A as well. There would be no daily reward car below SRS and no entry to FIA races below SRS. Now these may seem a little bit harsh and you may well be correct. Again, it's just some ideas I'm throwing out there, just my opinions at the end of the day, but really what I'm trying to put forward here is that anything below sportsmanship S, you are driving or doing everything you can in the game at that point to get to that level. And I think that's really the only way we can kind of promote people wanting to get to that SRS, is to make all the good stuff available once you get there. So the last thing we're going to look at is the Joker card. So this is just an idea that I had for those drivers who spend their entire career at 99 SR. There should be something you can then earn even at that point. So theoretically, once you're at 99 SR, the game still calculates you getting green SR up sectors. If you then get this up to 149, this activates what we could call an SR recovery card. Now, no matter how bad the penalty system is, there can be that circumstance where the game hates you, or a driver out there hates you. Somehow you keep picking up so many SR downs that you end up getting reset. And that's particularly unfair to a driver who's been clean for, or at 99 SR the entire time before that for months and months and ends. So really what this would allow you to do is then use this DR recovery card. It would reset you back to 80 SR and reset your driver rating back to what it was before the race that led to the reset. Just an idea that I like to throw out there. You can only have one of these at a time. Once you've used it, you then have to earn another one. But that's just some ideas that I want to flung out there for maybe what they could do to the current penalty system to try and make things a little bit better. There is an update coming on the 24th of February, a couple of days from now. It'll be interesting to see what that's going to bring to the game. I suspect it may well be some kind of change to the penalty system. They can't be blind to all the criticism that they're picking up Will it make any difference? Will it make things better? Well, that remains to be seen, but it will be interesting to see what it brings. But I'm going to bring the video to an end there. This has been just my opinions on the penalty system. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and hopefully I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.